when you have a family and responsibilities and people you need to support, you want to set yourself up for success.
Mhm.
And so there always is this element of balancing risk and reward, right? And be like, okay, I really want to do this, so I'm just gonna like quit my job and start training people.
Yeah.
But what's gonna happen, and what happens to everybody, is like you're gonna struggle for a while before you actually start making it work. So why not do that almost as like dipping your toe in the water and still taking care of your house, but kind of doing it as a side gig hobby until you build it up and grow it. And then when it's got a following and it's got some security and you see that it has legs and you've been able to figure things out, not just on the training floor, but like most people are new to running a business too. There's like a
Mhm.
lot of stuff to figure out with that. Amber alert.
Oh,
Oh my
man.
goodness. Who
There
is
we go.
it?
Oh, that was my phone. Well, did you get it too?
Oh, I got it too. You're in my safe area? No, you're not.
Yeah. Wow, this huh.
Apparently.
Oh, National Wireless Emergency Alerts. That's funny.
Improve alert warning. So this must be the 5G pulse they're trying to
Uh-huh.
activate.
So you have
See,
Verizon too then, I guess.
yeah, I do. They're telling me, just wait, they're going to start pulsing out 5G, and all of a sudden you're going to turn into
Yeah.
zombies. It's brain
Yeah.
control apocalypse. Uh,
Oh, man.
um,
So is that how you started your business then? You were working, a full-time job and then kind of moonlighted and started this up as a side hustle, and then it just took off, or how did you start this?
no, not at all. Listen, I'm very grateful for the gifts that I have, but the truth
Mhm.
is, I don't have all. I'm good at them, but I don't have a lot of them, right?
Okay.
So I always tell people like I'm not that good at many things. This is all that I know, so I have to be great at it.
Right.
When I was in college, like a lot of people probably who are listening, like you, I'm sure, like I was a lifelong athlete, right? And I grew up in athletics. You were mentioning that you kind of grew up with mixed martial arts and that was your outlet.
Mhm.
Sports to me was my safe place and it was such a part of my identity. And then after college, I went into pro sports and I was a professional baseball player. And, like you
Wow, I
really
didn't know
get
that.
wrapped up in that. And it's a good and a bad thing. Like it's a double-edged sword, right? So rewarding, but at the same time, throughout your life, you're going to have to reinvent yourself. And
Yeah.
when my career was over, I decided to retire. I was kind of in a place where I just had no idea like what I was supposed to do. I
Mhm.
knew what people thought I was supposed to do, like go get a job, go do this, that, or the other thing, but nothing seemed to really excite me or fill me up like the way I felt playing baseball. And the
Mhm.
things that I really liked was like being on a team, having a process every day, working towards goals, feeling like you're of use, utility, kind of like the adrenaline and the excitement of competing.
Mhm.
Um, and uh, and so, I did my best, but I think I had multiple interviews where I just walked out of there being like, I'm going to shoot myself before I take this job. You know what I mean? Like, no fucking way. I
Uh-huh.
just didn't have it in me, right? God only makes us one way. And so, in my last couple of years of baseball, I had a very major arm surgery, and my whole elbow was reconstructed. They call it Tommy John surgery. It's like a Frankenstein operation where they take a ligament from one side and put it on another side, and
Gosh.
try to fix it up. And during that process, that was the first time that I actually really started to get interested by and focus on training, right?
Mhm.
Because my thinking was, if my elbow is going to be my weak link, I got to make everything else as big and strong as possible. And so I
Yeah.
had this goal of being the biggest, fittest guy in the organization, which in
Mhm.
professional sports is like no easy task. And so I had some great trainers. Most of them I had to actually outsource and go outside of our baseball organization to even find. But that was kind of my introduction. And when I came back the next year, like everything was awesome. Like I was bigger, I was stronger, I was like a whole new athlete. And I was so into that process of training that a lot of my teammates wanted to like go to the gym with me and be like, hey, I want to do what you're doing, right? Because I had my whole like little program, whatever. And I had a little bit of a knack for coaching and for understanding what training should feel like and what it should look
Mhm.
like. And You know, I think that really great trainers, one of the skills a lot of people don't talk about is just the skill of empathy, of understanding like what the athlete's going through and what it's supposed to feel like and when to push them and when to pull them back.
Right.
So I think that kind of came really naturally to me. And in my last couple of years of playing ball, I was thinking, you know, maybe outside chance, maybe I'll try to be a strength coach. And I was totally thinking like I could go the traditional route, and I got my NSCA CSCS. So that last year on the road, every like 13-hour bus ride, I'd have my nose in a textbook reading, you know, the science and application of strength training and things like that. And then when I was done, it was kind of at the point where like, okay, what do I want to do? So I tried some unquote normal regular job interviews, and that was definitely kind of just like, it rubbed me the wrong way. I could just see, I'm like, I can't see myself here. And I decided actually that I was going to go back and play another year of baseball. But in the meantime, I thought, why
Which
not
team were you
try?
playing with at the time?
I was with the Dodgers and the Phillies. I ended my career in the independent leagues. So that's
Okay.
kind of like a melting pot of, you know, people trying to get back to the big leagues or this and that. And really fun, but just like kind of no man's land in some ways. So I was ready. You know, all my friends had jobs and careers and were establishing families, and I was still living in the Howard Johnson Hotel most of the year and going from city to city. So you know, I decided like maybe I'll just go back and play another year until I figure it out. But in the meantime, I'm going to take a job training people.
Yeah.
And so I interviewed at a couple places and got a job in Manhattan at a really kind of cool exclusive gym that was just a very high end bougie kind of gym for celebrities and entertainers and athletes and stuff. And you know,
Equinox, was it?
What's that?
It wasn't Equinox, was it?
No, it was always an Equinox. No, this gym is still exists. It's called La Palestra.
Okay.
And
Sounds fancy.
you wouldn't recognize it as a gym because it's on, they have a couple of locations, but the main one is on Central Park West in Manhattan.
Okay.
And there's no sign, it's just a door. And when you go through the door, there are multiple security checkpoints where like you hit a buzzer, you look at a camera, you go down another hallway, you hit a buzzer, you look at a camera,
Oh, wow.
and then you get to like a front desk with a translucent wall. And the idea with this gym is that it's a gym where people who can't train in a normal gym go and train. So like if you're someone who's just going to get harassed at Equinox and bothered, or you just don't want people snapping photos of you or whatever, you go to this gym. And it's got a crazy high ticket price. Like it's an insane membership. And when you train, you have to train with a trainer. And so unlike the other jobs where typically you get paid kind of on the for training hours, right? You're like, oh, you train somebody, they paid $100, you get to keep whatever, you know, 50 of it or 60 of it. This is just a salaried position, and your job was to be available to train people. And I like that because I'm like, okay, well, whether I work or not, I still get paid. So when I started there, like I didn't have a lot of clients. I was just kind of a trainer on call. And every once in a while, somebody would come in and they'd be like, hey, I want to train. And they would be like, oh, well, we got Dave available. He's great. You know, give him a try. And I started to develop a client roster. And after a while, my roster got so big that I was like, man, this does not make sense. Like I am working 15 hours a day and taking home the same paycheck. And, you know, it's getting nuts. And I had one client who I was pretty tight with, and he had kind of, for lack of a better word, had kind of had it with the place. And he said, hey, what do you make here? And I was like, you know, I get paid about $45,000 a year, you know, and it's just kind of the steady paycheck or whatever. And he was like, I'll tell you what, I'll match your salary just to train me. Just train me and I'll match your salary, but I'm going to leave this. And I was like, ooh, okay. And then he was like, and I'll do even better. I got 3 buddies that'll do the same thing. And I'm like, okay, all right, now we're talking.
Wow.
So
That's incredible.
I took the show on the road, so to speak, and I just started training people privately as my own like little business. And you know, we were talking before about like the idea of like working for a corporation or working for people, and I'm the kind of person that really thrives under autonomy. Like I like to create stuff. I like to play by my own rules. I don't like being lorded over. And when you create something, when you're your own business owner, like whether it's your podcast or whatever it is, your insurance company, it's a different level of investment that really makes it exciting and rewarding, but it's the kind of thing that will keep you up at night doing the work or making the extra effort, where otherwise you're like just thinking, oh, it's time to clock out, like I can't wait to get home. When you are running your own business or you're creating the thing, you're just worried that you're doing a good enough job.
Yeah.
You know, that you're giving the best of yourself and trying to secure, because it's not just something you do, it's who you are. It's you know, your DNA implanted on every facet of the business. So that business did really well. And I was just training people in Manhattan, like going to, you know, they'd come to me, I'd rent out gyms. And it got to the point where we were kind of ready to start financing our own gym in Manhattan. And the same client who pulled me out of that last gym wanted to, like, let's open up one in Manhattan. We'll give you your own gym. It'll be crazy. You make this awesome. We were, you know, we were kind of doing CrossFit-esque kind of stuff at that point, although that was kind of right when I was starting to get into CrossFit. And I just didn't really love Manhattan. I didn't want to see myself being there for another 10 years. So I decided to not do that and to move to the West Coast and go to San Diego. And that's where I started my first CrossFit gym.